The new Crow movie is now in theaters. Is it as terrible as some people are saying? Let's find out right now.
You have no idea what hell awaits you. No, I do.
I got a bone to pick with some of y'all because the discussion around this movie has been like killing my brain cells on Twitter, especially because everyone keeps calling this movie a remake of the Crow movie with Brandon Lee. This movie is not a remake because the Crow movie with Brandon Lee was an adaptation of the graphic novel. So this new one would be considered, I guess, a new adaptation of the novel, or I guess you'd call it a reboot since they're kind of rebooting it since there hasn't been a Crow movie in so long. I know the first one I've seen, I just watched it a couple days ago to get prepared. I haven't seen the other two, so I just got to get that out. This is not a remake. It's not a remake. It's a totally different thing than the Brandon Lee movie. This is a reboot. And with that all said, I can tell you that it isn't as terrible as some people are suggesting. I think it has like a 30%, 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not as terrible as some are suggesting, but I think it still is a pretty lazy mess. I also want to mention that this is from Lionsgate, and that studio has been through the ringer this year, and especially the last few weeks. Like, this movie is just not going to do that well. Not a lot of people are going to go see it. Borderlands flopped, humongously with that humongous budget that they had, and they just released the new trailer for Megalopolis, which they bought so they could distribute, and they had to pull that trailer down because they put fake bad quotes in it for Francis Ford Coppola movies. Like, oh my god, what is this studio doing? I'm surprised they're still, afloat right now. I'm surprised, everything that's going on with them. I think they just really need to get their act together and produce some great movies, and I think market them a little bit better, because this movie wasn't marketed that well. Only had one trailer. Borderlands wasn't marketed that well, and Megalopolis certainly is not getting marketed that well at all. So Lionsgate, get your act together, please. This is from the director Rupert Sanders, and just looking at his IMDb, I guess I should have expected this movie to be pretty bad, because he directed Snow White and the Huntsman and the live-action Ghost in the Shell movie, which weren't well received. I haven't seen the Ghost in the Shell movie. The Snow White and the Huntsman, I didn't really care for. I thought it was pretty boring, and this Crow movie is kind of boring, I will say that. But what's interesting about this one is the discussion around it. When the first trailer came out, everyone was like, why are you doing this? Why are you making a new one? Why are you rebooting it and all that? And I watched the first trailer, and I was actually pretty entertained because I hadn't seen the original when I watched the trailer. But I was also pretty happy with it because they used Take What You Want by Post Malone, Travis Scott, and Ozzy Osbourne. That's one of my favorite songs from Post Malone. Post Malone's my favorite artist. I absolutely love that song. I think that trailer just went hard. So, going into this movie, I went in with low expectations because everyone just was hating on it. And, it's, as I said, it's not as terrible as some people are saying, but it's still not good. It is pretty lazy and it's pretty boring at certain times. What I did like about this one more than the original was that it's more of a romance story, and you focus more on Eric and Shelley. In the original, you don't really get their kind of bonding, how they meet, how they fall in love. There's a little bit of flashbacks in that one, but I kind of wanted more of that to feel more attached to their love. But in this one, I did feel attached to their love. I really did like what they were going for here, so I did like that more than the original. The kind of love story here is like the first 30 minutes, and then, Shelley dies and all that. Spoiler alert, I guess, if you didn't know that already, but it's kind of in the trailer. And then, Bill Skarsgård's character, Eric, has to go through all this formation, become the Crow guy, and, he's a killing machine. What I liked more about in the original was that it didn't take so long to get there, and it didn't take him so long to go on his hunt to get revenge. In this one, it takes a while for him to, start going on his revenge, because they're like over-explaining it. In the original, they didn't really have to explain it. They really just explain it in the opening kind of monologue. In this one, they had to have a total new character explain it. They're in like the Crow dimension and all that. It was pretty odd, and like that's like the middle, it's like the second act, and it took a while to get to that third act. The third act is where I have another positive though. There's an opera sequence where Eric is going to the opera to get revenge, and he has to kill like 30 people going up the stairs while an opera is singing in the background. That was a really fun sequence. I liked all those kills. I thought, some of those kills were kind of ruined in the trailer. Like, I already saw them in the trailer, so I already knew what was coming, but I really did enjoy that sequence. I thought that was really fun, but there needed to be more of that. I thought the action was lacking in the, in the second act and the end of the first half. The third act was pretty fun, but at the same time, I still thought this was way too long, even though it still comes in under 2 hours. The original with Brandon Lee, I thought was paced very well, and it was about 2 hours long. So now we got to talk about our cast. Bill Skarsgård is playing Eric, our main character, who Brandon Lee played. Brandon Lee did such a fantastic job. Sadly, the story, if you don't know the story, he was accidentally shot on set and died because the prop director did something wrong with the gun. It's a very sad story. He never got to finish the film. He had like a Chad Stahelski stunt double. As a stunt double, had to step in and finish some scenes. But I thought he did a terrific job with that movie. Like every line that he said just came across and you felt it. And he has so many epic lines in that movie. And Bill Skarsgård, I think he's a terrific actor, especially in it. He was great in John Wick and Barbarian. In this, I feel like he's playing two different Erics. I feel like Eric should be one character, kind of like a moody guy, but he's trying to get revenge. In this, I kind of like the Eric at the end in the third act, as I said, where all the action happens. In the first act, I feel like he's kind of cool, but it's not really who Eric is. In the third act, though, I did like that. I did like how he actually turned into more Brandon Lee type of guy. FKA Twigs played Shelley. I'm not too familiar with her work, but I did like her a decent bit. I think she added some emotional weight to this movie, and I like her and Bill Skarsgård's chemistry in the first act. As I said, I'm a really big fan of that first act and what they did, because they did try some new stuff here like that, and I really did like the new stuff that they tried, and some of the new stuff I didn't like, which was kind of like the main villain. Like they made the main villain kind of like a guy from hell, and he can whisper in someone's ear and tell him to kill himself, so now they jump out of the window. I thought that was a little weird. It gets a little mystical and gets a little mystical at the end, which I wasn't really like. I like when the original was grounded, a very moody movie. So yeah, that I really thought the villain angle didn't work, and I thought the pacing of this movie was just really off. It felt really long for a movie under 2 hours. So overall, the new Crow reboot isn't terrible, but it's still not good. It's not anything that I was hoping for from that first trailer. Bill Skarsgård does an okay job at the new Eric, but I think FKA Twigs kind of takes the movie for me. The first act is pretty good, second act is pretty terrible, and the third act has some great action at the opera sequence. I just feel like the direction and the pacing was just really lazy and boring at times. So I'm going to give The Crow a 5 out of 10, right in the middle for me. I know a lot of people are going to be rating this like a 2 or a 3, but I don't think it's that terrible. I think it's watchable. Just I think you need to find some time on streaming for this one, not in theaters. But yeah, it's a movie that I'm probably not going to go back to because we have the original, and I think the original is better. That's my review of The Crow. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. If you did enjoy my review, make sure you like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.